Hello everyone, I welcome you all in the fifth lecture of Mechanics of Solids, and we'll discuss a little about what we have discussed in last lecture. We have discussed about analysis of statically indeterminate systems for stress and strain due to applied forces, and during this discussion what it was discussed that when a system comprises two or more members of different materials, the forces in various members cannot be determined by the principle of static equilibrium alone. So we have equations of static equilibrium for plane structures. It is summation of forces in x direction, in y direction must be equal to 0, and the summation of moments about a particular point must be equal to 0. So if a particular system is such that only with these three equations of equilibrium, if the system cannot be determined, then that system is called a statically indeterminate system. So in this case, in addition to the equilibrium equations, we need some supplementary equations which are required to find the unknown forces. So these equations additional to the equations of equilibrium are called compatibility equations or compatibility conditions, and we have discussed with these examples how those equations can be written as if the system is subjected to total force P and say there are two different materials, or it may be n number of different materials used in that particular system, then the total load must be equal to the load carried by individual material. So P becomes P1 plus P2 plus P3 and so on. Okay, so that is one condition. And the other equation is regarding compatibility, that the deformation of different materials will be same. So what can be written is, say for delta L is equal to PL over AE, and if P1 is load taken by material 1, and area is A1 and Young's modulus of that particular material, if it is E1, then it can be written as P1 divided by A1 E1. So L is common in all the materials, length will be same, so delta L of each material will be equal. So this equation can be written in this particular manner, and these two simultaneous equations can be solved further for the particular analysis. So we'll go through two numerical related to this particular analysis. So this is the statement of numerical 8. An assembly of steel bar of 60 mm diameter is enclosed in an aluminium tube of 70 mm internal diameter and 110 mm external diameter, and it is compressed between two rigid parallel plates by a force of 300 kN. The length of assembly is 1 meter. Find the stress in the tube and the bar if Young's modulus of steel is 200 gigapascal and for aluminium it is 70 gigapascal. So this is what is given, and this is the diagram. So what is said is, this is a steel bar. This is steel bar, and steel bar is enclosed in aluminium tube. So this part is aluminium. This part is aluminium. Okay, and the diameter of steel is said to be 60 mm, and the internal diameter of that aluminium tube is 70 mm, and external is 110 mm, and total length is 1 meter, and total force applied is 300 kN. So we need to calculate which of the part of or total out of total 300 kN, how much force is taken by steel and how much force is taken up by aluminium tube. If we can calculate that, then we can find what is stress induced in that particular material. So we'll go through solution of this. So what we have written in earlier discussion was P is equal to P1 plus P2 plus P3 and so on. So over here we have two different materials. So one is steel and another is aluminium. So what we have written is P is equal to PS plus PA. So force taken up by steel plus force taken up by aluminium, total together is the total force applied, which is given as 300 kN. So what can be written is PS plus PA is equal to 300 into 10 to the power 3, that kilonewton converted into newtons. So what can be done further? Using compatibility equation, that change in length of both materials is same. So delta L is equal to change in length of steel plus or is equal to change in length of aluminium. So change in length of aluminium and change in length of steel is same. So further what can be written, that as delta L is equal to PL over AE, so what can be written, P1 L1 divided by A1 E1 or P2 L2 divided by A2 E2. So for both these materials, if length is same, so what can be done is, it can be written further like this, delta L is equal to, now instead of P1 it is written as PS and A1 E1 it is written as AS ES. So these three parts are for steel and these three are for aluminium. So what we can write with this equation is, if this PS, if you keep it on left side and if you take this AS ES on right side, then the equation becomes PS is equal to PA. So PA as it is on this side and AS ES is taken on this side, okay, at top. So AS ES divided by this part AE EE, A and EA. So as it is, this is for aluminium, this is for steel. So what can be written further? If we substitute what is area of cross section of that particular material and Young's modulus of that particular material, then PS is equal to PA. So over here AS, area of steel, so that is said that it is 60 mm diameter, so pi by 4 60 square into its Young's modulus 200 GPa. So that is again converted into Newton per mm square, so 200 into 10 to the power 3. And for aluminium, area of cross section, so its internal diameter is 70 and external diameter is 110 mm. So that area of cross section becomes pi by 4, say external d square minus internal d square. So it is 110 square minus 70 square. And its Young's modulus is 70 GPa. So again, as usual, it is converted into Newton per mm square. So what we can write with this is PS is equal to 1.428 PA. So out of total force P, over here in first equation we have written that this PS plus PA is equal to 300 into 10 to the power 3 Newton. So what we can do, now we can substitute this 1.428 PA over here in first equation. So what we can write, PA, so if we substitute it over here, what will happen is 1.428 PA plus PA, so it is 2.428 PA is equal to 300. So PA becomes 300 divided by 2.428. So like this we can calculate what is force taken by aluminium, and then again we can substitute it over here so that we can calculate what is force taken by steel. So force taken by aluminium with these calculations is 123.53 kilonewton, and by steel it is 176.47 kilonewton. So with this now you can directly calculate what is stress. Stress is load divided by area. So now what part of load is taken up by each material is now known to us, and area of cross section is known. So what we can calculate is, say, stress in steel is equal to load taken by steel divided by area of cross section of steel. So if you calculate this, you will get it as 62.41 megapascal. And further we can calculate stress taken up by aluminium. So that will be PA divided by AA. So that will become, so this is already calculated, 123.53 into 10 to the power 3, and this is area of cross section. So with this calculation we get stress in aluminium as 21.84 Newton per mm square or megapascal. So like this, with this additional equation what we have written, so this part delta L, so what we know is change in length of each material will be same. So that is the compatibility equation. Okay. So with this discussion, we will go through one more numerical related to this kind of analysis. So this is what is the data given for the numerical. A load of 800 kilonewton is applied to a reinforced concrete column of 560 millimeter diameter, which has 4 steel rods, each of 36 mm diameter, embedded in it. So this is the cross section of that column. So what is given is this total diameter is 560 mm and steel is there are 4 steel bars of 36 mm diameter, and the total force applied is said to be 800 kilonewton. Okay, so find the force taken by individual material. So what force will be taken up out of this 800 kilonewton by concrete, and what force will be taken up by steel bars, that is to be calculated, and then what is stress induced in each material is to be calculated, and Young's modulus is given. So what we can do? We can calculate initially what is area of cross section of different materials. So for steel, now diameter is given 36 mm. So that will be pi by 4 d square, and there are 4 steel bars. So it is written as 4 times pi by 4 d square. So if we calculate this 4 into pi by 4 into 36 square, it gives us 4071.5 millimeter square. So this is area of steel. And what we can do, area of concrete is equal to pi by 4 d square, capital D stands for this 560 mm diameter, complete diameter of column, and then this steel bar area is required to be deducted. So it is written as pi by 4 into d square minus area of steel. So if we calculate this, it gives us this complete what the area is written. So what is done is into 10 to the power 3 it is converted for simplicity. So AS is equal to 4.07 into 10 to the power 3 millimeter square, and area of concrete is 242.23 into 10 to the power 3 millimeter square. So this is area of concrete and area of steel calculated from the data given. So what we can write? Well, earlier in numerical 8 we have written that P is equal to P1 plus P2. So similarly over here we can write the force taken up by concrete plus force taken up by steel, total together will be the total force applied on that column. So PC plus PS is equal to 800 into 10 to the power 3. So that kilonewton is converted to Newton. So this is first equation. And what we can write? That the deflection of both materials will be same. There is no crack as such in the structure that is considered. So delta L is equal to PS into L, PL or E, so PS into L divided by AS into ES. So this stands for change in length of steel bars, and the other part is PC into L divided by AC into EC. So this stands for concrete. So with this equation, delta L is equal to PS into L divided by AS into ES is equal to PC into L divided by AC into EC. Now what we can write is, now length of each material is same. So what we can do is PC is kept as it is. So if I take this AC into EC on this side, so it will become PS multiplied by AC into EC divided by AS into ES. So this equation, so what we can substitute over here is area of cross section that was calculated earlier. So for concrete it was 242.23 into 10 to the power 3. So it is kept as it is, and EC, Young's modulus, so that is given for concrete as 15 gigapascal. So it is converted into Newton per mm square, 15 into 10 to the power 3. Similarly, area of steel is substituted, and Young's modulus of steel is substituted, and PS is kept as it is. So what we can write is equation which give us a relation between what load is taken up by concrete and what load is taken up by steel. So if we calculate it, we will get PC is equal to 4.25 PS. So we are knowing that in equation 1, PC plus PS is equal to something. So this PC we can substitute in terms of PS as 4.25. So 4.25 plus 1 over here. So it becomes 5.25 PS. So PS will become 800 divided by 5.25. So with this we can calculate what is load taken up by steel, that is 152.38 into 10 to the power 3, and load taken up by concrete is 667.62 into 10 to the power 3 Newton. So with this again you can calculate stress as general. So we are knowing that stress is equal to force taken up divided by area of cross section. So this PS is 152 kilonewton over here, and area of steel is 4.07 into 10 to the power 3 is substituted. Stress taken up by steel is 37.44 Newton per mm square, and if we calculate this, sigma C is equal to PC divided by AC for concrete, then PC is calculated 667 kilonewton, and that area of cross section of concrete is 242.23 into 10 to the power 3 millimeter square. So this calculation gives us stress in concrete as 2.76 Newton per mm square. So like this, with equation of compatibility, we can go for the further calculation of what is required for the analysis. Okay. So with this two numericals, we will go through a few further fundamentals of this particular subject. So what we have discussed up till now is regarding stress, but it was either tensile stress or compressive stress. So the force applied was along the longitudinal axis, and that was the discussion up till now during all the theory part or numerical whatsoever we have discussed. So in this lecture we will go through concepts regarding shear stress and shear strain. Similarly, in addition to Young's modulus, in case of shear stress and shear strain, we have one more modulus which is called as modulus of rigidity or shear modulus, and that we are going to discuss in this particular lecture. So try to understand with this cantilever beam. Now this is cantilever beam, this is free end, and this end is fixed, and at free end some force P, point load P is applied. So what will be having? You are knowing in first year we have discussed it in engineering mechanics, that we will be having two reactions over here. One will be vertically upward and another will be a movement as a reaction. But now don't go for this discussion. We will consider this P as a reaction over here. In addition to that, there will be movement as a reaction, but we are not now discussing about it. Okay. So now with these two external forces, this is externally applied force and this is externally applied the reactive force. So with these two forces, if we go through this cross section over here, if we cut it at this side and if we go through this segment of this complete beam, so what we'll be having? For equilibrium inside, you need some force over here. Okay, say if I'm considering this segment, then I will be having this as external force P and this as internal force P. Similarly, if I am considering this segment, okay, so this is reactive force P and internally I must have force P, so that summation of forces in y direction will become 0. Okay, so if I am considering this segment, internal segment, then what will happen to it? So it will be subjected to some internal force like this. So this is internal force and this is internal force. And these two forces which are equal and opposite and parallel to each other, they are not along the same line. Okay. So these are trying to cut that particular part as a shear. Okay. So that is what is basic of it. When two equal and opposite parallel forces not in the same line act on two parts of the body, then one part tends to slide over or shear from the other across any section, and the stress developed is termed as the shear stress. So what we understand by this? Two equal and opposite parallel forces. So this force, internal force P, and this another force, internal force P, these two are equal forces and opposite forces, and not in the same line. They are not in the same line at two different parts of the body. They try to slide that particular part due to that internal forces, and due to those internal forces, whatever stress is getting induced, that is called as shear stress. So shear stress is always tangential to the area over which it acts. So in earlier analysis, what we have said is force is applied at this particular position along this length. Okay, now the force is applied perpendicular to that. Okay, so that is tangential to the area of cross section. So this is area of cross section, and this force is tangential to that area of cross section. Now again, as usual, if P is the force applied and A is the area under shear, then the shear stress is given by tau is equal to P by A. Now in case of tensile stress or compressive stress, we denoted it by sigma. Instead of that, now we will be denoting it by tau. So tau is used for shear stress, and tau is equal to P divided by A. And if intensity of shear stress varies over the area, then tau is del P by del A. So again, we'll go through one more example, what exactly we understand by shear. So try to understand. With these two plates which are applied with these tensile forces, okay, and these two plates, they are connected with this bolt, okay, and now due to this force, the plate will be getting elongated in this particular direction, or this plate will be getting elongated in this particular direction. So what is happening to both? That is what is to be discussed. So try to understand now what is happening to that particular part. Okay, so if this force is trying to pull this particular part in this direction, and if this particular force is trying to pull this particular plate in this particular direction, then due to these two forces and these two members, if they are horizontally moving, and they will try to cut that particular bolt at this particular level. Okay, so this complete bolt is getting cut at this level, and at this cross section, whatever stress will be developed, that is called as shear stress, or this kind of failure is called as shear failure. So with this example and what we have discussed about shear stress, we will go through one more example so that we can understand what additional concept we have regarding the shear stress. So we'll go through this one more concept, complementary shear stress. Now try to understand what is drawn over here. So I say this is internal part of that particular beam, what was already discussed earlier, and this is internal force developed, that was P and T. So over here this is written as tau, that is shear stress due to that P and due to the area of cross section at that particular level. So if these two are the shear stresses, then these two are not going to give the particular part or segment in equilibrium. What will happen? Now summation Fy is 0 with these two stresses, or with these two forces acting on it. So this tau minus this tau becomes 0. But if we consider movement about a particular point, so what is going to happen to that? Try to understand. Now if this tau, the two equal and opposite are acting, then these two will try to rotate that particular part like this. Okay, so to have equilibrium of that, for summation of movement about any point equal to 0, there must be opposite movement, so that that particular segment will be in equilibrium. So what must be there? So these two are clockwise, tau, which are internal due to externally applied forces, and internally there will be opposite movement due to these two tau dash stresses, and these two are called as complementary shear stress. So actually what we have is this part in a particular material or at a particular section. So we will go through discussion regarding this. The shear stress acting on the element on plane AD and BC. Let us say this is A, B, C, D, something like that. So it is plane AD and BC will tend to rotate the block in the clockwise direction. So these two are rotating that block in clockwise direction. As there is no other force acting on the element, static equilibrium of the element can only be attained if another couple of the same magnitude is applied in the anti-clockwise direction. So in the anti-clockwise direction there must be something so that that particular segment will be in equilibrium. So this can be achieved by having a shear stress tau dash which is equal to tau at AB and CD. So if tau dash is there, then the magnitude of the balancing shear stress is the same as of the applied stresses, because for if this is clockwise tau, then there must be anti-clockwise tau dash, and tau will be equal to tau dash. So the shear stress on the transverse pair of the faces or planes are known as complementary shear stress. So these tau stresses, these are due to externally applied forces, and for equilibrium of these two equal and opposite forces, there must be counterclockwise movement, and for that again you need some force over there. Okay, so that stress is called as complementary shear stress. So every shear stress is always accompanied by an equal complementary shear stress on perpendicular planes. So with these two tau acting over there, two tau dash will be getting developed. So the every shear stress tau is always accompanied by an equal complementary shear stress on perpendicular planes. So with this discussion regarding shear stress and complementary shear stress, we will go further with discussion regarding shear strain. So what is given in this diagram is, now if this is the block to which it is subjected to this internal stress tau, shear stress over here and shear stress over here, and say this is complementary shear stress acting on this plane. So what will be happening is, due to this part of the shear stress and complementary shear stress at this particular position and at this particular position, what may happen is this part will be getting elongated and this part will be getting compressed. So what will happen to this? So this is due to tau and tau dash, and over here this is tau and tau dash. This diagonal will be getting elongated and the other diagonal will be getting compressed. And what will happen to the angle over here? That this is initially horizontal and this is initially vertical, and due to elongation over here, this part will be getting this angle will be getting compressed. So that is phi by 2 at this side, and it is shown over here as phi by 2. So what is the further discussion regarding this strain is, due to applied shear stresses and complementary shear stresses, one of the diagonals will be elongated and the other diagonal will be compressed, and the change in angle phi, which is phi by 2 with respect to horizontal axis and another phi by 2 with respect to vertical axis. Hence the shear strain is defined as the change in the right angle of the element equal to phi. So shear strain is change in angle due to the shear stresses, and that is denoted by phi, and the units are radians. So with this we'll go through discussion regarding what is modulus of rigidity or what is shear modulus. For elastic materials, the shear strain is found to be proportional to the applied shear stress within the elastic limit. So earlier, when discussing regarding Young's modulus or modulus of elasticity, we discussed that within the elastic limit, the stress is directly proportional to strain, and the proportionality is called as Young's modulus. Similarly, over here, the shear stress and shear strain, they are proportional to each other up to elastic limit. And then the modulus of rigidity or shear modulus, it is generally denoted by G, capital G, is the ratio of shear stress to the shear strain. Okay, so tau is directly proportional to phi, and what can be written is tau is equal to G into phi. So G is a constant of proportionality. So what we can write is G is equal to tau divided by phi. So this is called as a modulus of rigidity or shear modulus. So in addition to Young's modulus for a particular material, there is another modulus which is called as modulus of rigidity or shear modulus, and that is a property of that particular material. Okay, so with this discussion we will conclude this lecture, and again in addition to these few conceptual discussions we will go through in next lecture. Thank you all.